Good afternoon. I call the City of Sioux Falls Council, Minnehaha County Commission joint meeting together. We'll start with a roll call on city side.
Council members Anderson Jr.
Here.
Benega.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Costello.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Knutson.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Staggers.
And the record will reflect there is a quorum present for the county commission.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with our first item on the agenda.
We'll have the motion to approve the regular agenda.
So moved, Benega.
I'll second that motion. Knutson.
You want to call the roll?
Council members Anderson Jr.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers. Item 1 on the agenda is a, I'm so sorry.
I would entertain a similar motion. Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved.
First item.
Okay, the first item, sorry about that, Ann.
That's fine.
The briefing and report from the Multicultural Center Board of Directors.
Good afternoon. City Council members and County Commissioners and guests. 2 weeks ago, County Commission Chair Hayek invited the Multicultural Center Board to report at this meeting, and she asked that we clarify the mission of the Multicultural Center, report on programs and services at the center, and outline the board's plans going forward. I will try to keep my report brief, and I will allow time for questions at the end. It's our hope that this report provides both a good foundation and a better understanding of the Multicultural Center. There are remarkable things happening there every day. The mission of the center is to provide opportunities for all people to learn, celebrate, and share through cultural experiences. The home of the center is the Coliseum on North Main Avenue, and through a special joint agreement, the state of South Dakota provided funds to the county to remodel the Coliseum to provide a home for the Multicultural Center. The city provides for utilities, and the county maintains the building exterior. The staff at the center, you may not know, are from around the world, like the people we serve. Current staff members are from Mexico, Congo, Bosnia, Ukraine, Iraq, Kurdistan, Ethiopia, Minnesota, that's my only joke, and elsewhere in the U.S. 5 other organizations office at the center: Character Counts, the NAACP, the Spanish-Speaking Community Association, the Sudanese Community, and the Small Business Administration also has a presence there. In addition to those that office there, there are dozens of ongoing affiliations connected to programs and services. They include Augie, USF, Minnehaha County Extension and 4-H, South Dakota Arts, Southeast Tech, United Sioux Tribes, city and county law enforcement, and the list goes on. We know that it is also a priority that the Minnehaha County Commission ensures that the facility is available for use by citizens in the county. And there have been questions raised recently about that use, and I'm going to try to clarify those in some of my next remarks. The primary use is for the programs of the Multicultural Center, some of which I will highlight a little later. Ethnic communities use the facility often and are not charged for its use, whether it's for celebration or to conduct business. There were 74 of those ethnic community gatherings in 2009, almost all on a weekend day. Public use of the building often has a cultural purpose too, and you may have found yourself at the center this past year to attend Martin Luther King Day activities or either of 2 powwows, the diversity conference, the tribal arts show, or a character counts, goodwill, or tobacco-free kid event. Or perhaps you attended the South Dakota Chief Pancake Benefit, or even a wedding reception. Very recently, the U.S. Census Bureau chose the center to interview, test, and train their census workers for the area. We do receive some income from some of these events, and that total was $5,837 in 2009, and we budgeted $8,000 anticipated income for 2010, and so far we're on track to achieve that. Overall, the center is used by outside groups 70% of the time. The 2010 budget for the center is just over $600,000, and you all deal in numbers, so you can understand that while that seems like a lot of money, and it certainly is, it's always a challenge to achieve the greatest impact and get the best possible outcome from every dollar. We too are determined to do that every day at the center. 4 budgets make up our overall budget at the center: youth programs, women's health, driver education, and general administrative. And I'm going to spend a moment on each and especially acknowledge some of the funders for each. Nearly half of that budget is spent on youth programs, which include after school, summer care, and the on-site cultural liaisons at 2 Sioux Falls middle schools. Most referrals to the center come from 5 Sioux Falls elementary schools and the 2 middle schools that have been identified as needing services in that they have both the greatest percentage of cultural diversity and a significant percentage of children that qualify for free and reduced lunch. The youth programs are free, and they include busing from school to the center and from the center to a specific address at the end of the program day. Youth programs are funded by the State of South Dakota Department of Education's 21st Century Community Learning Center grant and the Sioux Empire United Way. Last summer, the state renewed the center's 21st Century grant for another 5-year period. The newest addition to youth programs is called Native Reads, with a goal to help our schools raise the reading level of Native American students referred to the program. There are a total of 2 full-time and 8 to 11 part-time employees that staff youth programs that serve over 400 youth throughout the year. One program, in fact, Native Youth Club, won a national award in just 2008 from the National After School Alliance, 1 in 4 in the nation. The Women's Health Initiative was launched in 2005 in response to the South Dakota Department of Health's desire to create an outreach program to refugee and immigrant women to inform and educate these women on the importance of prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of women's health issues. The $70,000 budget is funded by the Department of Health, State Department, and the Avon Foundation's Breast Care Fund. The center provides the cultural liaisons who work with the health professionals who are employed by the state. Most of our women's health liaisons speak several languages and can understand and overcome a language barrier in several others. There's 1 full-time and 4 part-time individuals employed in that program. Driver education is about $77,000, and that's met with funds from a South Dakota Highway Safety Grant, City of Sioux Falls, City Bank Grant, and from fees for program participants, and 429 people took this training last year. We handle all administration of the driver training program other than instructors, but it includes translators. We have evening classes for English as a second language year-round. We have Spanish classes sometimes during the year. And we are now the home since late '08 to the African American Museum, the result of a passionate group of citizens approaching the center as a possible home for this special museum project. Grant funds were again secured this time for planning and development required to launch this effort by the South Dakota Community Foundation's Capacity Building Program. That museum was recently recognized with its own 501c3 and hopes one day soon to find an independent home for their museum. We sponsor the Festival of Cultures, and our staff is definitely very involved, but the organizing for that event is done by a killer steering committee who work all year long to make that a highlight of the summer season, and that will be June 19th this summer. We're also home to the Career Closet, where donors and users come and frequent the Coliseum, to select or donate clothing. We also have a resource center with tons of information on upcoming events, services like those with Wells Fargo or homebuyer education, classes at area colleges, federal programs, and job postings from dozens of area employers. And finally, our general operations is the remainder of the budget, with the City of Sioux Falls the largest funder in that category. We do get other income, as I mentioned earlier, the facility use, miscellaneous income, some special purpose grants, that makes up the total. The staff at the center itself, or administrative staff, is really 3 people. And those 3 individuals each have been and are instrumental in the success of the Multicultural Center to date. They have all been with the center 10 years or more, and the organization only really has a 12-year history, so it's a lot of service on their part. They do and can do almost anything, including handling hundreds of requests via phone or walk-in throughout the year. You have a very busy center staff, fielding questions and making referrals so varied, you may or may not be able to imagine those. Our plan going forward, or what's next for the Multicultural Center, last October, the board set the stage for a formal planning process in order to focus on the future and on building on the existing foundation of programs and services. Board members, many of them at the time short-term, have come and gone, and over those recent years, and that resulted in 7 term-limited retirements in June of last year, and we still miss them. So revisiting everything about our board, from our makeup to our meeting times to committee structure to leadership, that's been a priority for quite some time. And we hope to formally engage in that discussion within the next few weeks and follow that up with short and long-range planning. As with any nonprofit organization, many critical decisions have to be made at the board level. One of those concerns we have is our funding for the future, because so much of the current funding is restricted, and while some of our grants are multi-year awards, most require application annually, and the calendar of grant application and reporting deadlines is itself extensive. We have certainly achieved success in growing programs through grants, but other fundraising opportunities and sources must be researched and identified in order to put the center in the best possible financial position for the future. We understand well the challenges the city and county is experiencing, particularly in this economic climate. We are one of those organizations that is adjusting its budget as a result of a 15% reduction from the City of Sioux Falls, and this affects both our administration and our driver education programs. And finally, probably the most important challenge and opportunity falls under the category of communication. We know that we need a dynamic web presence, and we will achieve that. We need to ensure timely and meaningful reporting to the city and to the county and to all of our funders, and we assure you that we will accomplish that wherever and whenever it is called for. We will continue to deliver every Multicultural Center program to exceed expectations, and we'll find new ways to collaborate and share with other organizations in this community that also serve refugees and immigrants, or that want to recognize and celebrate the cultures of the world. Our planning will not take place overnight, but we're looking forward to the process and to the result. We are proud of the people and the programs of the Multicultural Center in achieving our mission to provide opportunities for all people to learn, celebrate, and share through cultural experiences. We want all of Sioux Falls and South Dakota to be proud of the Multicultural Center as well. Your any ideas to help us further our mission are always welcome. Thank you.
Mary, thanks for being here. Would you introduce the members of the board of directors that are here today, please? If they would,
someone. No.
Would they just stand if you're a member of the board of directors for Multicultural Center?
Chief Doug Barthel, Jim Schmidt, Jerry Walton, where are you? Penny Anderson, and Carol Tweed.
Okay. Is there any staff then? Kadir Ware is here?
Kadir is here, and Rebecca Naser.
Are there questions for Mary?
If I could, thank you, Councilman. Mary, thank you. Part of the presentation that you had, as we look at the various requirements and obligations under the 20-year, actually, joint powers agreement that was dated July 2nd of 2002, and it was actually between the three entities of the city, the state, and the county. At that time, $1.8 million was used to renovate the facility, the Coliseum, and the state was very generous about that. However, they did put a number of requirements upon the city and the county commission to really follow up and to make sure things are done. As you well know, there's the Intergovernmental Board that is comprised of the mayor and one of the council members, who at this time is Councilman Anderson, and also two Minnehaha County commissioners, Commissioner Barth and myself. And we met with you last week. There were supposed to be 2 meetings a year, and that's been a little skinny, I am going to say at best, but we're moving ahead. In addition to that, there is supposed to be a report once a year by the board to this body to let us know what's going on and how things are actually going and what needs to be done. That said, there's been a lot of information flying around the community in regard to the operations of the Multicultural Center. And so we had asked for this presentation so that the council members, the commissioners, could all address some of the more relevant questions in regard to operation. You gave a very nice, comprehensive report, but I know that there are a number of questions from council members and commissioners, and so are you comfortable if we give you a little bit of a hazing, if we will, in terms of what's going on?
I guess so.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Thanks, Ann. Any questions from the commission or the council? Councilor Brown?
Mary, you outlined some of the programs in the budget, but can you tell us specifically how much the city contributes to the Multicultural Center?
Well, I think you get, as far as our budget impact is concerned, like last year was $90,000 for our overall administration, and another $30,000 into driver education. But the city does pay, by that joint powers agreement, pays for the utilities, and I believe insurance also for the Multicultural Center.
Thank you.
And I would add, Mary, that I think we've put the value at our contribution from Minnehaha County at approximately $180,000 per year, I believe, Ken, as you're nodding your head, at the use of the facility. And some of the issues that have come to light of most recent are in regard to the strategic plan and mission evaluation report that was done by the university group. And I know you indicated that your board members had decided to do a study, and you're doing a further audit into the inner working of the facility.
Well, we started last October,
Right.
looking at what steps we needed to take. So that was actually a report, I think you're referring to, from a series of focus groups that took place
Yes.
in mid to late January.
And at that time, I was actually in one of the focus groups. I know a number of the people in this room were in the focus groups, and there were some things that came out of that were somewhat troubling to some of the people that are responsible for the facility. Now, a few years back, we had some issues in regard to the upkeep of the Multicultural Center. In particular, it was the floor, I know, in the Coliseum area and the kitchen. And we were finding that the kitchen was not being used, or if the people that were using it, I think at one point in time, the stove was not working, dishwashers weren't working, and we do maintain the building and the facility and the upkeep and are responsible, but we were not seeing any request at any point in time for funding that we would normally do to keep the facility in shape. Now, I know the Achieve breakfast was just held there, and that was wonderful, and a great time to showcase the facility.
It was.
And that's the county's silver, and I want to share also what the county does in regard to the building and contribution.
If I may, I've been in Sioux Falls for many years, and of course, over those years, I've heard quite a few stories here and there about things at the Multicultural Center. However, this report, I think, it really gives the current operation a failing grade. You know, in reading from it, it says that one group suggested that they are so alienated that they no longer engage with the MCC. The center itself is an unwelcoming place. The real concern is that the MCC is an island that is neither filling the gaps in the community nor capable of bridging across to community groups that might also complement the mission. There's a clear disconnect with what government officials expect and what's happening. Being a government official, there is a clear disconnect. The organization's marketing is outpacing its substance, and the marketing and branding is lacking. The team doing the investigation said that the MCC board was only moderately informed about the organization's programmatics, given its fiduciary responsibilities. There's a lot more in this that is critical of the operation. And you know, I've met with people, both people in organizations here in Sioux Falls and people involved with the ethnic community. And you know, there have been allegations that I've heard from ethnic intolerance to client exploitation to bribery. And I guess my concern is when I get this other report, it doesn't look good. And, you know, in the sense that Minnehaha County is loaning this valuable multi-million-dollar building to this organization, you know, I'm not happy. In fact, you know, the word crisis, I guess I've heard in Chinese, can also mean opportunity. We probably have a little bit of a crisis. It could be an opportunity. But you know, in looking at this report, I can't give you a passing grade at this point. And you know, what do you guys think of this report?
Well, we've been asked that a few times. We've not discussed that specific report as a board. Obviously, we've read it, and I assume that the board members have read it. I know that I first saw that report on March the 9th. So I guess it doesn't really matter to me what the date is on it. That's when I, as a board member, first saw that report. And certainly there are concerning things in there. And I guess for an organization like the Multicultural Center, who is trying to actually give voice to people whose voices aren't often heard in an advocacy way, or to serve them when they don't have English as their primary language or whatever it might be, all of those voices are also important, Commissioner. I truly feel that way. I don't know what the circumstances were, you know, either over the years. I've never heard or have come to the board some of those allegations or how you framed them. I can assure you that we would take them seriously, but I can never say that we have not said no to people who want to use the facility, and that can be because they don't ask soon enough, or, there are popular times, or in fact, someone may have, certainly unintentionally, offended them. I cannot say that didn't happen, because the job is hard. There are a lot of cultural nuances. There are lots of language issues, that we deal with every day. And I guess we serve thousands and thousands of people. And but we may have some persons who did not feel welcome. I'm not ever going to say that didn't happen.
Thank you for that. I tell you, my own hope would be that a multicultural center would help smooth the way for people integrating into our community and our society, and that, I've said it before, that now 100 years later or so, Norwegians and Swedes can sit side by side. And you Swedes. In any case, though there are issues, and I don't want them to be perpetuated here in this country. And the idea, my hope would be that as we go forward, that while we can continue with our ethnic identity and enjoy our ethnic identities, that we leave behind the animosities and hatreds that may have existed in another area. But I'm still not happy with this report came out on the 10th of February. You saw it on the 9th of March.
Correct.
And at the same time, they're talking about ethnic groups and organizations dealing with refugees or immigrants who are estranged from the Multicultural Center. And, that should not happen.
I agree.
Mary, when does the board intend to take up the report?
Well, we've just had lots of other business, I guess, and some of that in light of, frankly, recent press. We've also been preparing for the city's contract audit. We are doing our best, I guess, to create a schedule, that will work for our board members. We have 11 active board members right now, but that's quite a crew to get together and to have enough time so that we can move through our board planning, and also to take up those issues and that report and so on. We're anxious to do that. We just haven't had that opportunity.
Councilor Knudsen.
Mary, thank you for your leadership now on the Multicultural Board. I actually, despite the fact that I've been a bit of a rabble-rouser on this topic for only 8 years or more, I do care lots about the Multicultural Center, so I hope you know that. And my favorite work in this community is definitely helping refugee families. So I look forward to the day that all of this is behind us. But just a couple recent concerns, and also kind of a fun story is, well, first of all, I think it's wonderful that there are at least a couple English classes offered per week. I think just 2, I believe, but I, happy to be corrected if I'm wrong on that. But anyway, they're great classes. They're really caring teachers, and they use the Multicultural Center in the evenings on Tuesday and Thursdays. And actually, Southeast Technical Institute pays for the instructors. But I had the opportunity once again to teach both classes combined about a week ago, and it was great fun to teach those people from around the world, 20-some people, about the city council races and the mayoral race and so forth. It was just really, really fun. But anyway, a concern that was expressed to me recently regarding child care during those classes, when those classes are offered, because again, the number varies of students who are able to get there. These are adult students, but many of them have children, and some have no transportation, some have just arrived, and so forth. Is that a couple people have expressed to me recently that they're concerned that the child care during those evenings is unreliable. The night I was there, the child care worker did show up on time, and from all I could tell, I wasn't in that room, but I believe that all went well. So that's just the one concern. And then Another concern that I have that is a recent one that's shared by someone else, it's not from me, not from me directly, is that this person sent me an email in the last 10 days and said, I heard today that last week one of the bus drivers stopped and picked up a male black adult while transporting elementary students home, and another day they stopped a bus driver from delivering elementary children and had them pick up middle school kids from bowling. Neither of these should have happened. Will the audit include program safety, et cetera? I am so concerned about the safety of the children. So I am asking our audit to include a safety feature if possible, and I would like the audit to look at the history of the buses and what inspections have been done, if any. Has the staff been checked through central registry and not just background checks? And so those are my best thoughts and most recent thoughts from constituents in the last 10 days.
Councilor Knudsen, I assume you're referring to the city-initiated planned audit of the Multicultural Center that was been in the works for some time.
Yes, and thank you, Chairperson, for clarifying that for me.
Mary, the 4 board members who resigned, they've not been replaced as yet,
Right.
correct? Do you, what steps are you taking then to make sure that these individuals that take those positions will, kind of represent a good cross-section of the community and possibly address some of the issues that we found were a concern within the report? And I'm going to combine this a little bit in that the report kind of indicated that, I'm going to quote, the executive director is failing to build the Multicultural Center in a manner that is welcoming to all ethnic and minority communities in Sioux Falls. It appears to many of the group participants that the executive director is driving the organization by personal preferences rather than what is best for the organization as a whole. Now, that is coming out of the report. That is not anything that I'm saying, but as the report, as their consensus, after they looked and dealt with all these groups, that was actually one of their findings. So it is not my statement. It is a statement from the report, from that consensus as a serious issue to be dealt with. And so my question to you is, as you look at replacing the board members, will you be looking at the possibility of maybe addressing that concern?
Certainly. I mean, that would be one example where, I guess, which is why I identified that as one of the kind of 3 main areas that the board needed to look at. One was itself, or the first one was itself, because I think that whether you're talking about demographics or how that board is engaged, through committee or otherwise engaged at the center, or just representing, people, make sure that we have a broad representation, and that's a meaningful representation for that particular organization. We've had some, almost all, incredible board members in the past that, I've been privileged to serve with. It's true that the sort of demographic has changed a great deal over time. And it isn't as easy as we would like to get members of our ethnic communities, particularly if they are first generation, to serve on boards. I think boards are a pretty American thing. I'm not sure, but I think that some of that kind of service is more difficult for them to step up on their own and represent or say that they represent a particular constituency. But that will evolve over time, and it will be easier for other bodies to take advantage of that, too.
Councilor Brown.
Commissioner Hayek, a question for you. We received the report that we keep referring to is from the Government Research Bureau, and it's marked confidential. I think we need to make this public so people can see what we're talking about. What means can we do that with the county?
It was my understanding it had at this point in time been made public. Am I mistaken on that? I received
Not
it.
by
We've
us.
all read about it, but I think it's important that people be able to read it and see it for themselves. Essentially by us talking about it, it is already a government document, and I think we need to either through our websites or somehow make this public so people can actually see it, because having it marked as a confidential document just doesn't work.
If I may, I know I received a copy. Who was the entity that, yeah, right, thank you. Thank you.
And also, I do believe several media outlets have contacted us and said they do have the report also. So that's why we thought it was, it's already out there. But if we need to put it on the city website or anything like that, I wouldn't have a problem on that as long as the personnel portions of that are omitted, because personnel should not be made public, if I'm correct.
Do you, Mary, does the board have a position on making this public, or?
Well, we did, but that didn't happen.
Okay, and it was not to be made public, it was still to be confidential in the board's opinion?
That's right, because the board hadn't had a chance to review it, and I think that media outlets got tired of me saying that, but they came to it anyway, and they came to have this report anyway. And I'm told by professionals in this kind of planning process that, in fact, any kind of focus group report should be one data source. I mean, not the only data source, not necessarily even ranked higher than other data sources that you seek out during that planning process. Certainly, it's a concern if it's confirming, other concerns that people might have already had. But that, I think, is probably, I just have to stick with that. We have other sources that we hope to obtain in the course of our planning.
Okay, I think everybody here wants to talk, so we're just going to go in order here again. So, Councilor Litz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My thoughts had two things here. Number one, it says the MCC, by a government group's estimation, has caused enough concern and consternation among city and county officials this year to merit an audit. And I'd just like it to be known that it doesn't take very much to get an audit out of this, this city or city council committee. I mean, if you're a department head and you smile out there, we're probably going to audit you. So I don't think that's a big, threshold for us being overly concerned, number one. The other part was when Dee talked about in the audit of having a safety function, a safety audit, and are we, is that something within Rich's abilities? I don't know whether Rich should answer, or maybe you could.
Yeah, maybe when we get done, we'll get Rich up here and he can explain a little bit the original intent behind what the original audit was about, and then an expanded scope of the audit, and we can get a little bit further in there. But since we have Mary at the stand now, maybe we can address questions for her now and other board. Commissioner Kelly?
Mary, I guess the thing that concerns me is, I'm going to touch back on what Ann said, that your four executive officer positions have resigned in the last, couple months. Those people were not, they were pretty heavy hitters in the community, and it's a little surprising. I'm surprised, I don't understand why the board, I thought this report was an important part of your evaluation process, and to find out that it's put out February 10th, you don't hear about it until March 10th, and I don't know when we received it, but there seems to be an attempt. I don't understand why the board hasn't addressed both the report and the seriousness of the four top offices resigning in this short period of time.
Well, it's not really by choice. We've spent an inordinate amount of time trying to address issues as they come to us, but they've been coming at us pretty quickly. And so, you have to take those in order, I think, trying to respond in a timely, responsible way to both the audit team from the city, to staff needs, at the center. I'm almost a month on this job now as president, and so there are a lot of things that I, frankly, was not up to speed on or, was not aware of at the time. So I apologize for any delay, but it is certainly not our intention to not address it. I just can't give you that timetable.
Does the board have a concern about, the resignations, and two, this is a pretty tough report on certain individuals, and I guess you said the board just hasn't had time to go at it. Well, when are they going to start looking at it, and how important is this report to your whole overall operation?
Well, it's important, but we understand that there are some things that we need to do first, and those have to do with, some of our internal board, functions and so on, and setting that agenda so that we can do that in a thoughtful way.
Thank you.
Yes,
Commissioner-
we're concerned about the resignation, and we wish that they were here to help us do the planning.
Okay, Commissioner Peckus?
Thank you very much. I'll see if I can get this to work. Ms. Miedema, I have several concerns, one of them being the statement that came from the government report, and I'm just going to read the second part of this sentence. The executive director is driving the organization by personal preferences rather than what is best for the organization as a whole. Personal preferences. Now, my concern is that this report is dated February 10. It's April 19th, and you haven't even reviewed this report yet. So really, when there's this statement regarding personal preferences of the executive director driving where the Multicultural Center is going, you haven't reviewed that yet?
Well, that depends on, I guess, what you mean. We're dealing with a lot of internal discussions right now, Commissioner. The prior executive committee did vote to place our executive director on a suspension, and that took place. If you want to look at the calendar, it's all very, it's very compressed.
So the follow-up question is, did they review this? And
They
is
may
that the
have.
decision that they made?
They may have.
Are there any minutes to document the decision that was made regarding that?
No.
Then the next question that I have, and then I'll be done, focuses on the fact that I lost my train of thought. Excuse me.
We'll come back to you.
That's okay.
Commissioner
I
Tweed.
didn't know you were that old.
John, you can go after me. Kenny Anderson and I are the city and county folks who actually serve on the board of directors. So as a member of the board of directors, I think that what I can do best is take the board to task. Mary, you've done a fabulous job up here. I mean, you gave a great report, and you're fielding really tough questions from this group, and you're doing it really, really well. I'm really proud of you. As a board member, we have huge responsibilities both for programming as well as fiduciary responsibilities. I know that I have fielded so many questions and phone calls and requests for people to sit down because folks would say to me, I never knew who I could call about some of my concerns at the Multicultural Center. And so I have spent an awful lot of time in the last few weeks talking to folks as others of us have. But one person called our programming, which you described well, but one person called our programming a rummage sale of programs where you just have a refrigerator here and a sack of shirts here and some shoes here and maybe a picture from the wall in another spot. And in fact, the report itself calls our programming wide but not deep. So, we can talk forever about what kind of programs are going on there, but even our report is critical of, I think, the substantive parts of what we're doing programmatically. And I say that as a board member. We are, as a board, operating in a crisis mode because over and over again we have heard that this document, whether we've had it since February 10th or we've had it from March 9th, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I think we should have locked ourselves in a room that very first weekend and tackled these problems because they are huge. The very first paragraph in the summary tells us that we are in a crisis. But the interesting thing for me is that this isn't the first time that the Multicultural Center has dealt with this very same thing because a little over a year ago, we commissioned another community focus group study, and we heard pretty much the same thing. It might have been put into different words, but we heard pretty much the same thing, and if we don't like what we hear, we just
put it under the rug, and then go on about our duties, and this wonderful agency languishes one more time. I really am concerned that we're not addressing this right away, that we have lost 4 significant board members, and that this report has been in our hands for 2 months now. And, I know that there have been other issues, and we're working on them, but, boy, this is tough, and we need to get at it. One thing that I have brought to the attention of the board on an ongoing basis, and I'm going to bring it up, because this is what a lot of folks are calling me about. And it needs to be somehow on the floor because it's important. Lots of folks are calling me and saying, we teach driver's ed over to refugees and immigrants at the Multicultural Center, and then there are staff members who actually sell cars and who actually have car license and are selling cars to refugees and immigrants following their passing of a driver's license. I have brought that to the attention of the board a few times, and basically I was told one time it was a non-issue, and the second time when I said, am I the only person on this board who believes this is a conflict of interest, the only sound I heard was silence. But that is not what the community is telling me. The community is telling me that this is a conflict. So we do have big problems there, and we just need to, we just really need to get busy and start solving them.
I agree.
I think that last item that Commissioner Treat addressed was extremely serious, extremely serious. And I think it would behoove your board to adopt an ethic policy that actually did prohibit and ban any person working for or a board member from doing business that would directly benefit them. I don't know who sells the individual's automobile insurance, but we all know if we come into a place that is new to us, we develop relationships with those people we trust that have been nice to us, and we want to do business with them. And it would appear to be, and it may not be, but any appearance of impropriety is something that your board should address, and it should seriously address. And many of us are in professional organizations that will not allow any type of contact of the nature that you have on your board. And I think you will send a strong message to those of us that sit in these chairs and the other people in the community that you're taking this extremely seriously, and that you do view it as a way not to take advantage of individuals, but a way that you, whether it not, I'm just saying that we're hearing this, and I've heard it for years. I was shocked the first time. And I do know that it has occurred, and it is a concern of a number of people. And so it would seem to me that, as I said before, it would behoove your board and your organization to adopt a strong ethic policy that would prohibit and ban such activities. And then you don't have to worry about that criticism, and there can be no complaint. So I think it's something you should take very seriously.
Thank you.
Councilor Anderson, I think you were next.
I wanted to reply to Commissioner Peckus on a point here that he had made. I would say one of the reasons we did not directly go in and address this report is because at the time period when the executive director was missing, we needed to make sure the Multicultural Center was still running and that its programs were running. And that became the priority of our board of directors. And once that got resolved through the findings of the independent person that investigated the reasons Kadir was gone were not valid, then we took the steps to bringing him back and getting the funding that the Multicultural Center needs to survive. So that had to be our first priority. At that time now, we have started looking at this study. We also are looking at adding board members. That happens to be one of the things that I'm doing. I have already recommended a few names to the board of directors of people who are very interested in joining and making this center a better place for everyone. And that's some of the things that we are doing at this time. But once again, it does take time, and, we do have to prioritize, and I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah. Thank you, and I actually had a chance to finally think of what I was going to ask, and your question actually was a good segue into it, Councilman Anderson. One of the questions I have is, of course, you just indicated that you had an opportunity to read this report and that you didn't review it primarily because you had other priorities with making sure the Multicultural Center was going to be able to be business as usual. And I understand that concern, but Ms. Miedema just indicated that the board hasn't taken up this report yet, and you're on the board, and you just indicated that you have taken up this report.
Well, individual board members have read this, and at our last board meeting, we did start to talk about this.
Okay, now,
but we
now,
have
if I
not
may,
had a
if I
chance
may,
to.
If I may, Kenny, if there's another concern that I have, and that is that Ms. Miedema indicated from the podium that she's already undermining the integrity of this report by saying there's only one data source. So I have a concern there that you've either haven't taken it up, you have taken it up, or you're trying to get a way to undermine the purpose of this report. And I have a problem with that.
Well, and I take offense to that, and I think the rest of the board of directors would also, John. We work very hard to get things done down there. And I would say over the last couple of years, since I've been on the board, I have made the statement more than once, and I think Carol will back me up on this, that we haven't done enough as a board. And this report was sort of an eye-opener for everyone and did get people moving. But once again, we had to prioritize, and we have done that, and we're moving forward. But the whole thing is still, we need to meet as a group, and trying to get 10, 11 people together for 2 hours, as busy as some of these people are on this committee, is a tough thing to do. But we have scheduled those meetings, and we are moving forward with our strategic planning. So I think that if you're going to criticize us, that maybe you should attend some of the meetings and take a look and see what we're actually doing. The media's been there. So that's what I'm saying is we're sitting here and we're using this report as a judgment on the Multicultural Center and the Board of Directors. And I think that if you're going to do that, then you need to get involved or at least take a look at what's going on down there. When was the last time you were at the Multicultural Center?
I'm not the liaison to the Multicultural Center.
But once again, the county commission is responsible for that building. So I just look at it as a way.
We take it up every year as a budget item, but I'm staring at my other commissioners that are liaisons. You understand the relationship that we have with the Multicultural Center. You understand the way that it's set up and the way it's supposed to operate. We're merely the landlords.
Well, and one of the complaints that I had also heard was that the county commission has not had a presentation from the Multicultural Center in years.
Precisely. We have not. They do appear at their budget hearings.
Okay, at this point, if there's anybody that has any new information or wants to share some comments that haven't been shared already, maybe we'll keep it moving on. Councilor Benega?
I'm going to change patterns here for a few minutes. I think we've bought the garbage truck, we dumped the garbage truck. Now it's time to find a new route in town. The issue is that the board has the authority and the responsibility to be appointed. They're volunteers. They're not there to run day-to-day operations of the facility, nor are we responsible for the day-to-day operations. And I think when you got 13 people up here, plus the others that call in for single identification issues, then you get sidetracked sometimes with day-to-day stuff. I can guarantee you with the thousands of people that I serve in my nonprofit responsibility, there's a few that don't like me. In fact, I think I heard from a few this weekend. The issue is we got to stay focused on the goal, and the goals are to get back on track with a strategic plan, to have a mission, and a vision, and a value, and start the process from day one. My concern right now is not, frankly, what I've heard at this point, so much as I am concerned about what the next step is and who gets involved in that. I think it's extremely important for us to continue with this group, but also to hire somebody from the outside if we need to help us with that direction, who's neutral, who's been through these processes many times, who can understand where this needs to go and get out of the muddy water, so to speak, and move forward to an organization that we want to survive and be successful. That's the bottom line. We don't need to dump any more dirt than the garbage. So I frankly, Mary, you've only been here for a month. I'm surprised you'll be here for another month if we keep this up. The issue is we want to help. At least I hope that's what this group is responsible for and what they want to do. And what we ought to be doing is looking at the next step rather than what's happened in the last 10.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson, I think you're the only one that's silent. Do you have any comments to make?
Sure, I'll add some color. Well, just my point of view is that I see that the group, and thanks for putting me on the spot too, Pat. I just think the group was aware of this report, and it's really starting to grow old. You know, what is it, 70-some days old now? And I know it's a report that you asked for and wanted to know this information. But if you let it sit on the shelf too long, you're going to get people like this who want to know what's going on. It's unfortunate that this got played out in the media the way it did, and we had to probably maybe parade you like this a little bit. But do not wait any longer. You know, get this report under your belt, come back to us, tell us what you're doing and or going to do in the future, and I think all of us, like Gerald had mentioned, will hope for your best, but I think the time is of essence, and I sense you probably feel that pressure tonight.
I do.
So it's unfortunate the way this all unfolded, but I think you're getting a sense now of some of the tension that's occurring, and you're better served if you just get it under your belt, come back to us, and tell us your plan.
Thank you.
And Mary, I think we're probably at close time. I do appreciate your coming forward and taking all of this abuse this evening and giving the report you did. It was an excellent report. We have a lot of work to do, all of us, the governmental community and also your board. But I want to thank you, and I know that you are a volunteer board. I know you're not paid nearly enough or anything, and it's a thankless job, but we do view it as a very, very important facility with a lot going for it, a lot of good things. And we want to continue those and make them even better. So I thank you.
Thank you.
And I think, just so everybody understands how the structure of this works, there's an intergovernmental commission, which are 2 city representatives and 2 county representatives, if I've got that right. And I would recommend that those 4 individuals get together with the board, decide whether or not you're going to make this public, maybe consult with your attorneys to find out. I think it probably already is public, but to the extent that how you want to respond to that, I guess is up to you. I also would like to have Rich just step up for just briefly to discuss a little bit on the city-initiated audit. Rich is our lead internal auditor. Rich, every year the city puts together an audit plan, and we, as an audit committee, and Councilor Jameson and I sit on the audit committee with 3 citizens. And as part of our audit plan, an audit of the Multicultural Center was slated for back as early as, I think, towards the end of last year when the audit plan was being put together.
That's
so
right.
It predated any of the controversies that we were recently made aware of. And Rich, could you just expand on that? Because there was a request to expand what was the normal scope of the audit, and you can speak to that.
Yes. Rich Schultz, the lead internal auditor, City of Sioux Falls. Thank you, County Commissioners and City Council. We schedule our annual audit plan usually in the fall with the audit committee, and we get that approved by resolution typically in December or January in front of the City Council. So we have a list of audit projects for the year, and that was included in our list of 12 to 15 projects that we normally do. And then we were approached, I believe, by Councilmember Anderson approached our audit committee, and we did also have indications from other people that they would like to expand the scope of our audit. Normally, in this case, we would just audit the agreement that the city has with the Multicultural Center for the general programming and the driver's ed program. That'd be kind of limited to a scope audit of just those programs, and also that we pay the utilities, so we'd look at that to see if we're paying our proper share. We were asked to expand the scope a little bit. The Audit Committee said, before we do that, we'd like to get, a letter from the Board of Directors of the Multicultural Center, just agreeing that to expand the scope. So we met with Mary, and we looked at some things that we would like to maybe look at, and that she, as the board representative, as the president of the board, would like looked at. We came up with several audit objectives beyond the compliance audit. We're going to look at the internal controls over financial transactions, review the MCC operations and the personnel policies and procedures, looking at review and clarification of funding for the MCC. They have many sources of funding, so we're just going to review that. And then we're going to look at best practices for board governance. There's a lot of good information out there for nonprofit boards, things that they definitely should do and things that are recommended, things that are good ideas, kind of look at that and give some recommendations upon that. So we got that letter. The Audit Committee said, send that letter to us, and that sort of became the official audit scope. And we have had our initial meetings with Kadir and with Mary and with staff, and we're underway with the audit. As far as changing the scope, if you want to add something, I think the proper procedure would be probably for the City Council to perhaps officially ask the Audit Committee. We like to protect the independence of the audit function. We don't want it used or have the purpose of the auditors compromised in any way. And a protection for that is having that audit committee as sort of a buffer to make sure that I'm not being directed to audit something that one person wants me to audit, that we need a consensus of the City Council. And so, I guess that would be the proper procedure at this point to expand any scope of the audit at this point.
Enrich the timeline of the audit. I know you said you're underway now, and as far as completion or...
We know there's a tremendous interest from the media, obviously, and the elected officials. We would like to complete this. I was kind of hoping at early June we could get the audit work done. We're never sure exactly how long an audit's going to take, but we don't want to drag this on and on. We understand there's an urgency to this, and we'd like to get this report out in the next month or two, if we can. But
are there any questions of Rich? Councilor Knudsen?
Yeah, just a quick question is, again, I'm trying to think how to say this the most positively, is I'm really fine with the, process that started and so forth. It does seem like it's at least courteous to work closely with the Multicultural Center Board as far as the scope of the audit and so forth. And I might just be mistaken on this, because I am often mistaken on things, but it just seems to me that, I don't know, I've only been on the City Council 8 years, and we haven't had an internal, we haven't had internal audit all of that time, but I don't recall any time that we've, as a City Council group, decided exactly, a consensus among us as far as what would be audited. I always sensed that was just pretty much, the topic is suggested to you guys, and then you run with it in a very comprehensive, thorough, fair way. And I guess because really a significant amount of taxpayers' money is still going to the Multicultural Center, it just, I don't know, it just seems to me that concerns that county commissioners have and city councilors as far as topics to be included in the audit would just be almost a given without another discussion among ourselves. So, I don't know, maybe I'm mixed up on something here.
Dee, I think probably what's appropriate, if there's a specific concern for a commissioner or a counselor, to either relay that directly to Councilor Jamerson and I, and we will take that to the audit committee, because there are just some things that our lead internal auditor and the staffs are just not set up to do. And I think it would be in the best interest of the city and the citizens to make sure that the audit committee controls just exactly the direction for the audit itself, and not the city council or commission.
Okay, sure.
So if there are concerns about specific things, again, if you want to relay those directly to Councilor Jameson or myself, and we'll be sure to get that to the audit committee.
Okay, and I totally understand what you're saying on that, and I guess so the issues that I mentioned today as far as just general safety, safety of equipment, and just safety of children, I would like Councilor Jameson and you to hear that once again right now.
And I would also say that for those wondering, listening, we did invite those newly elected council members because this will be one of your tasks in just a few short weeks as this body changes, but it won't go away. So we will have some newly elected officials up here to review some of that information that we've dealt with today.
Is there any other questions for Rich or Mary?
I have another question for Mary, please.
Okay. Any other questions for Rich before we move on? Okay. Mary,
thank you.
please. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Mary. Could you explain, as far as our processing of our strategic planning, what we've discussed as a board now as far as moving forward and who we were going to discuss that with, as far as our one person, our outside person that was going to lead us in our strategic planning?
Well, again, this decision was made back in October to use Sumption and Wyland here in town once the focus group portion had been done by USD, GRB, and then have them walk with us through that process. There's a lot has changed since then, so we might change the schedule somewhat, but that was the decision made back in October.
Thank you. That was just basically so that you know that we, to answer Councilman Benniga's question, that we do have an outside person that I feel is quite competent to lead us through our strategic planning.
I think we'll probably want to start wrapping up and move on. Is there any comments by the members of the Intergovernmental Commission that want to speak and how they intend to move forward? Councilor Tweed?
I don't know if any of the other board members might have, I don't know if there's any other board member who might have something that they would like to impart to us, or if that's even proper, but they're here.
You're welcome to give us your 2 cents if you care to. Okay. Any other questions by any other commissioners or councilors here?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner.
I am a member of the Intergovernmental Board, and Commissioner Hayek and I have been going to the meetings, and I know that we'll be keeping a close eye on this issue going forward. We'd be glad to come back and meet with the group as a whole. At the same time, I know that I've been on other boards, and I was a member at one time of the Sioux Empire Fair Board, and there's a certain amount of reluctance on the behalf of any board to take too close a management of any operation, and it's difficult. Volunteer boards, we don't really want to run things. We don't really, that's not why we're here, but I would just encourage the board of the Multicultural Center to recognize that maybe what we're doing is putting the spurs to you a little bit, and I'm hoping that we'll have some good reports coming forward.
And of course, the members by the city are Councilor Anderson and the mayor. Of course, obviously with the new mayor coming on board soon, Councilor Anderson and Barth, Commissioners Barth and Hayek, you'll have to probably take the lead on that, so to getting that person up to speed. So with that, are there any other items? Mayor, do we have to adjourn, or do we have a move?
Let's see if there's any new
Pat?
business.
Any new business?
Pat, may I make one last comment on this? I want to thank everyone for, taking a look at this issue and making it something that, we do need to address. Also with the addressing of the board of directors, if there's anyone out there that would like to put their name in to be on the board of directors, you can contact me at my email address or phone number that's listed in our website at siouxfalls.org.
Could I just say, though, I'm hoping that your board identifies what it is you want and need in the board member, and there may be a number of people that are interested in serving, but they might not fill the needs of the board. And I would certainly defer to them, because I think they've come a long way, but they have a long way to go, and we certainly want to be here to help you.
Well, any decision like that is decided by the board. I just pass that information along to them.
Commissioner, do you have any new business or old business you
Any
need to
old
address?
business to come before this body on behalf of the county commission?
Move adjournment.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn for the county. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I
Move to adjourn.
I second that.
Motion moved and seconded. All in favor, we'll take the roll, right?
Council members Anderson,
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Motion carries, we are adjourned.